The quantum resonance lab on Outpost Helios wasn't designed for visitors. Dr. Nathaniel Wright had chosen this posting precisely for its isolation, preferring the company of his research equipment to the politics of Earth's scientific community. The facility, perched on an asteroid in the Kuiper Belt, offered perfect conditions for his experiments in neural mapping across quantum fields, which made the reading on his sensors all the more impossible. "Computer, run diagnostic sequence beta 7, he commanded, eyes fixed on the pulsing pattern that shouldn't exist. The pattern suggested a complex neural network, but nothing capable of generating such signals should exist this far from Earth. Diagnostic complete. All systems functioning within normal parameters, the AI responded in its characteristic monotone. Nathaniel ran his fingers through his graying hair, a habit from his university days that surfaced whenever he encountered an intellectual puzzle. The signal was strongest from the direction of the asteroid's northern pole, where the facility's long-range sensors had detected an unusual mineral formation months ago. He knew he should report the anomaly to Earth Command. Protocol demanded it. But something about the pattern tugged at his scientific curiosity. It was almost familiar, reminiscent of human neural patterns, yet fundamentally different in ways he couldn't quite grasp. The decision made itself. He suited up for surface exploration. The asteroid's weak gravity made movement awkward but efficient once you learned the rhythm. Nathaniel bounded across the rocky surface in long, controlled arcs, following the strengthening signal. His suit's heads-up display mapped the terrain ahead, highlighting the unusual mineral formation that had caught the facility's attention. As he drew closer, the formation revealed itself to be more than simple mineral deposits. The rock face bore signs of modification, subtle but unmistakable changes that suggested intelligent intervention. And there, half hidden by shadow, was an opening. The entrance led to a chamber that defied explanation. The walls pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent glow that seemed to respond to his presence. And in the center, suspended in what appeared to be a field of pure energy, floated a figure that challenged everything he thought he knew about life in the universe. She, and somehow he knew it was a she, appeared both humanoid and alien. Her skin had a translucent quality that shifted between various shades of opal, and patterns of light danced beneath its surface like aurora borealis in miniature. Her eyes, when they opened, held the depth of galaxies. Nathaniel found himself frozen, not in fear, but in awe. The neural patterns he detected were emanating from her, growing stronger and more complex with each passing moment. "Hello," he said, knowing his suit would broadcast his voice into the chamber. "I'm Dr. Nathaniel Wright. I mean you no harm." The figure's eyes focused on him with an intensity that seemed to peer straight into his consciousness. When she spoke, it wasn't with words but with pulses of light and energy that his suit's sensors somehow translated into meaning. Time, lost, forgotten. The translation was crude, but the emotion behind it was clear, a profound sense of isolation and confusion that transcended language barriers. Nathaniel made a decision that would change both their lives forever. "Would you like to come back to my facility? I have equipment there that might help us communicate better." The response came as a cascade of lights that his suit interpreted as agreement, tinged with both hope and apprehension. The journey back to the facility was surreal. The being, who he began thinking of as Lumina for the way light seemed to dance around her, moved with a grace that defied the asteroid's low gravity. She seemed to float rather than walk, leaving traces of bioluminescence in her wake that faded slowly like cosmic afterimages. Once inside the facility's airlock, Nathaniel faced a moment of panic. Would Earth's standard atmosphere be toxic to her? But Lumina showed no distress as the chamber pressurized, and when he removed his helmet, she seemed to study his exposed face with fascination. In the lab, his neural mapping equipment revealed patterns of unprecedented complexity. Lumina's consciousness operated on multiple quantum levels simultaneously, explaining why his sensors had detected her presence from so far away. But beneath the alien complexity, there was something hauntingly familiar about the base patterns. As days turned into weeks, Nathaniel found himself drawn deeper into the mystery of Lumina's existence. She learned to manipulate the lab's holographic interfaces with intuitive ease, using them to communicate in increasingly sophisticated ways. Through these exchanges, he began to piece together fragments of her story. She had been here, alone in that chamber, for what his calculations suggested was close to 3 decades. But her memories before that were fragmented, distorted, as if viewed through a prism that scattered them across multiple dimensions of consciousness. One evening, as he was reviewing the latest neural scans, Lumina suddenly placed her luminescent hand next to his on the console. The patterns on her skin shifted to match his skin tone for a brief moment before returning to their usual opalescent state. The gesture seemed to carry a weight of meaning he couldn't quite grasp, but it sparked a theory. What if she wasn't purely alien? What if the complexity of her neural patterns wasn't just a sign of alien consciousness, but a symptom of something else entirely? The familiar elements in her base neural structure began to make a terrible kind of sense. That night, Nathaniel composed a message to his old colleague at the Neural Reconstruction Institute on Mars. He knew breaking his self-imposed isolation might cost him his posting here, but he had to know the truth. Something unprecedented had happened to Lumina, something that had transformed her at the quantum level while leaving traces of her original consciousness intact. As he waited for a response, he found himself spending more time simply talking to her, sharing stories of Earth and his own journey to the stars. She couldn't speak in words, but her responses, expressed through light, color, and the subtle manipulation of quantum fields, grew more nuanced and emotionally complex. One day, she showed him a pattern that his systems interpreted as a star map. The configuration was familiar, but not from his astronomical studies. It took him several hours to realize why. It matched classified data he'd once seen about an early deep space mission that had vanished without a trace. The pieces were starting to come together, forming a picture that would shake the foundations of human understanding about consciousness, identity, and the very nature of life itself. But before Nathaniel could pursue this revelation further, his communications array picked up an approaching ship. Earth Command had finally noticed his unusual power usage patterns. They were sending an inspection team. As he stared at the notification, Nathaniel realized he had less than 48 hours to decide, follow protocol and potentially condemn Lumina to becoming a research subject or risk everything to protect her and the extraordinary truth she represented. Time was running out. As the inspection ship drew closer, Nathaniel worked frantically to unlock the mystery of Lumina's consciousness. The neural mapping chamber hummed with energy as he initiated another quantum resonance scan, this time focusing on the deeper layers of her neural patterns. "Just try to relax," he said softly, watching as the shimmer of her skin responded to his voice. "Focus on the earliest memory you can find." The chamber's holographic display erupted with cascading patterns of light and energy. Lumina's consciousness expanded through the quantum field, and for a moment, Nathaniel felt a whisper of connection, as if her thoughts were bleeding into his own mind. Stars, falling, burning. The images came in fragments, a research vessel pushing the boundaries of known space, a young scientist named Diana Vale leading an experimental quantum communications project, a mysterious anomaly that defied conventional physics. The ship's name flickered at the edge of consciousness, the Helios Dawn. Nathaniel's hands trembled as he cross-referenced the data. The Helios Dawn had vanished 30 years ago during humanity's first attempts to establish quantum communication channels across interstellar distances. Its disappearance had set human expansion back decades, making the scientific community wary of pushing too far, too fast. "Diana," he whispered, watching as Lumina's skin flickered in response to the name. "You were Diana Vale." The revelation triggered a cascade effect in her neural patterns. Memories began surfacing faster now, each one accompanied by surges of quantum energy that threatened to overload the lab's systems. Nathaniel worked desperately to stabilize the readings, knowing that each burst of energy increased their chances of detection by the approaching inspection team. Through the chaos of emerging memories, a story began to take shape. The Helios Dawn had encountered something in deep space, not aliens or wormholes as many had speculated, but a fundamental flaw in their understanding of quantum physics. Their attempts to establish a quantum communication channel had created a feedback loop in the fabric of spacetime itself. Diana Vale, brilliant and determined, had realized the danger too late. The only way to prevent the cascade from spreading was to quantum lock the affected region, but doing so required a living consciousness to serve as an anchor point. She had volunteered, not fully understanding what the process would do to her. The quantum locking had saved the universe from a catastrophic reality breach, but it had transformed Diana in ways that defied comprehension. Her consciousness had been scattered across multiple quantum states, her physical form altered to exist in a state of perpetual quantum flux. The process had scattered her memories, leaving her adrift in a sea of fractured identities. "The chamber where I found you," Nathaniel said, his voice thick with emotion. "It wasn't just a hiding place. It was containing the quantum lock, wasn't it?" Lumina's response came as a complex pattern of light and energy that the systems translated into a single word: prison. The implications staggered him. For 30 years, Diana Vale had been holding reality together through sheer force of will, her transformed consciousness serving as a quantum keystone. But the process had fragmented her identity so completely that she had forgotten her own sacrifice. A warning light flashed on the console. The inspection ship was now close enough to detect any major energy signatures from the facility. Nathaniel knew he should power down the equipment, hide Lumina, and prepare a plausible explanation for his unusual research patterns. Instead, he initiated a deeper scan. "I think I know why you retain some human neural patterns despite the transformation," he said, fingers flying over the controls. "The quantum locking didn't just scatter your consciousness, it created a kind of quantum superposition. You exist in multiple states simultaneously, and one of those states still holds your original human consciousness." Lumina moved closer to the display, her form shifting through various states of transparency as she processed this information. The patterns beneath her skin began to synchronize with the neural mapping display, creating a feedback loop that amplified the quantum resonance. Suddenly, she pressed her hand against the screen, and Nathaniel felt a jolt of connection far stronger than before. Images and emotions flooded his mind, the terror of transformation, the endless isolation, the gradual loss of self, but also a deep, unwavering determination to protect reality itself from collapse. The moment of connection was shattered by a priority alert from the facility's AI, incoming transmission from Earth Command Inspection Vessel. "They are requesting immediate docking clearance." Nathaniel looked at Lumina, seeing both the quantum being she had become and echoes of the human she had once been. The inspection team would want to study her, maybe even try to reverse what had happened. But if they disrupted the quantum lock she maintained, "I won't let them take you," he said firmly. "But I need you to trust me. I think I know how to stabilize your quantum state without compromising the lock, but it's going to be dangerous. For both of us." Lumina's response came not in words or light patterns, but in a subtle shift of her quantum signature. She was aligning herself more closely with his own neural frequency, creating a bridge between their consciousness. The trust implicit in that gesture moved him deeply. As the inspection ship began its final approach, Nathaniel initiated a program he had been developing in secret. If he was right about the nature of Lumina's transformation, there might be a way to help her reclaim her human consciousness without abandoning the quantum state that held reality together. But if he was wrong, the attempt could unravel 30 years of quantum stability and tear a hole in the fabric of spacetime itself. The fate of much more than their two lives hung in the balance as he prepared to begin the procedure. The docking clamps engaged with a distant thud. They were out of time. The sound of boots on metal echoed through Outpost Helios's corridors. Nathaniel worked feverishly at his console, trying to mask the quantum signatures emanating from his lab while simultaneously preparing for the risky procedure that might save Diana. "Dr. Wright?" A sharp voice called from the main airlock. "This is Commander Reese of Earth Command. We're here for your quarterly inspection." Nathaniel caught Lumina's eye, seeing the swirling patterns of light beneath her skin pulse with anxiety. "Hide in the quantum resonance chamber," he whispered. "Its shielding should mask your energy signature." As Lumina glided into the chamber, Nathaniel quickly activated the facility's decontamination sequence, a standard protocol that would buy them a few precious minutes. He used the time to initiate the first phase of his stabilization program, praying his calculations were correct. Commander Reese was a sharp-featured woman who carried authority like a weapon. She strode into the lab flanked by 2 security officers and a science specialist. Her eyes narrowed as she took in the active equipment. "Interesting power readings coming from your facility, Doctor," she said, studying a datapad. "Care to explain why a solo research station is drawing enough energy to power a small city?" Nathaniel forced a calm he didn't feel. "Breakthrough in quantum field manipulation," he said, gesturing to his legitimate research displays. "I've been exploring the possibility of using quantum resonance for long-range communication." The science specialist, Dr. Porter, moved to examine the readings with obvious interest. "These patterns, they're unlike anything in our database. Are you saying you've achieved stable quantum entanglement at these distances?" Before Nathaniel could respond, a surge of energy rippled through the lab. The stabilization program had reached a critical phase, and Diana's quantum state was beginning to fluctuate. Equipment sparked, and holographic displays flickered with impossible patterns. Commander Reese's hand moved to her weapon. "What's happening?" "Unexpected feedback in the quantum field," Nathaniel said quickly, moving to shield the resonance chamber from view. "Nothing to be concerned about." But Diana's consciousness was expanding beyond his ability to contain it. The quantum lock that had held reality stable for 30 years was beginning to shift, responding to the changes in her neural patterns. Through their tentative mental connection, Nathaniel felt her panic and confusion as memories flooded back with overwhelming force. The Helios dawn, the accident, every possibility existing at once. The science specialist's eyes widened as his instruments detected the anomaly. "Commander, these readings, this is exactly like the data from the Helios dawn incident." Warning klaxons blared as reality itself began to warp around the quantum resonance chamber. Diana's form became visible through the shielding, her body shifting through multiple states of existence simultaneously. Commander Reese drew her weapon, but the security officers were frozen in awe. "Diana Vale," Dr. Porter whispered in recognition. All this time. Nathaniel knew they had seconds before the situation spiraled beyond control. He reached out through the quantum field, focusing all his consciousness on the connection he shared with Diana. "Remember who you are," he called both aloud and through their mental link. "You're not just the lock, you're the key." Diana's consciousness surged through the quantum field, touching each mind in the room. In that moment, they all saw what she had seen, the universe teetering on the edge of collapse, the sacrifice that had saved reality itself, the long years of isolated vigil. Commander Reese lowered her weapon, staggering under the weight of understanding. Holy God! The stabilization program reached its final phase, and Nathaniel felt Diana's consciousness crystallize into a new configuration. She was neither fully human nor purely quantum being, but something unprecedented, a bridge between states of existence. Her form stabilized, the opalescent patterns of her skin now flowing in controlled waves rather than chaotic surges. When she spoke, her voice carried both human warmth and quantum harmonics. "I remember everything," she said, each word rippling with layers of meaning. The quantum lock, it was never about containment. It was about transformation. Understanding dawned in Nathaniel's mind. The quantum accident hadn't just scattered Diana's consciousness, it had evolved it. She had become a living quantum computer, capable of processing reality on multiple levels simultaneously. Commander Reese and her team watched in stunned silence as Diana stepped from the chamber, her presence bending light and probability around her. Dr. Porter's instruments were recording everything, documenting the birth of something entirely new in human understanding. The communication project, Diana continued, her memories now fully integrated. We were trying to bridge vast distances through quantum entanglement. Instead, we found a way to bridge states of existence itself. The lock wasn't just holding reality together, it was preparing humanity for the next step in its evolution. Nathaniel felt the truth of her words resonating through the quantum field. The isolation of Outpost Helios, his own research into quantum communications, even the timing of the inspection, all of it had been leading to this moment of revelation. But as Diana's consciousness expanded to embrace her new reality, warnings flashed across Nathaniel's monitors. The quantum field was destabilizing again, not from danger this time, but from possibility. The very nature of space, time, and consciousness was being rewritten in Diana's wake. Commander Reese stepped forward, her military bearing warring with awe. "Dr. Vale, what happens now?" Diana turned to Nathaniel, the patterns of her skin synchronizing with the quantum pulse of the universe itself. "Now," she said, "we show humanity what lies beyond the stars they can see." The fabric of reality shimmered around them, pregnant with potential. The next chapter of human evolution was about to begin, and it would start here, in a small research outpost at the edge of known space. The news of Diana Vale's discovery spread through Earth Command like a shockwave. Within hours of Commander Reese's initial report, Outpost Helios became the focus of the scientific community's attention. Ships from every major research institution were already plotting courses to the remote facility, eager to study the woman who had transcended human consciousness. But Diana knew they were running out of time. "The quantum field is still expanding," she explained to Nathaniel as they monitored the growing disturbances in local spacetime. Her form shifted between states as she spoke, each movement leaving trails of possibility in its wake. Humanity isn't ready for direct contact with quantum consciousness. Not yet. Nathaniel studied the readings from his enhanced sensors. Since Diana's transformation, his equipment had begun evolving, integrating quantum principles he barely understood. "The field is affecting normal space more strongly than before. How long do we have?" "Hours, maybe less." Diana's skin rippled with complex patterns that matched the quantum fluctuations on his screens. "When I first underwent the transformation, I was alone. The quantum lock protected reality by isolating my consciousness. But now..." She gestured at the shimmering air around them. Commander Reese, who had chosen to remain at the outpost with a skeleton crew, entered the lab. The past few days had aged her visibly as she struggled to manage the political fallout of their discovery. "Earth Command is demanding answers. The Chinese have already launched 3 ships, and the Europeans aren't far behind. Everyone wants to be first to unlock the secrets of quantum consciousness." "They don't understand the danger," Nathaniel said, sharing a knowing look with Diana. Through their quantum connection, he could sense her growing concern. The more humanity pushed to understand her condition, the more unstable the quantum field became. It was as if reality itself was rejecting premature enlightenment. Dr. Porter burst into the lab, his usually composed demeanor shattered by excitement. "You need to see this," he said, activating the main display. "We're picking up quantum signatures from all over the solar system. They're responding to Dr. Vale's presence." The display showed a map of local space, dotted with pulsing points of quantum activity. Each point matched the unique signature of Diana's consciousness, like echoes across the void. "Others," Diana whispered, her form flickering rapidly between states. "The quantum lock didn't just affect me. Every attempt at quantum communication over the past 30 years, they all created anchors. Points where consciousness and quantum reality intersect." Nathaniel felt a chill as he understood. "How many?" "Thousands," Diana said. "Most are dormant, but they're awakening now. The transformation that happened here, it's triggering a cascade effect. Each point represents a potential bridge between normal space and quantum reality." Commander Reese's face paled. "Are you saying there are thousands of potential quantum beings about to emerge across the solar system?" "No," Diana replied, her voice resonating with multiple harmonics. I'm saying humanity has been unknowingly preparing for this moment for 30 years. Every failed experiment, every mysterious disappearance during quantum research, they weren't failures. They were seeds. The implications staggered them all. Humanity's rush to master quantum communication had been laying the groundwork for a transformation far more profound than anyone had imagined. But the process was accelerating too quickly, threatening to tear reality apart at the seams. Nathaniel worked furiously at his console, correlating data from multiple sources. The quantum field is becoming self-sustaining. Even if we could somehow stop the transformation process, the changes to spacetime are becoming permanent. Diana moved to join him, her presence causing the quantum distortions around the equipment to intensify. There's only one way to prevent a catastrophic collapse of reality. We have to guide the transformation, give it direction and purpose. How? Commander Reese demanded. We barely understand what's happening, let alone how to control it. Not control, Diana corrected. Embrace. The quantum field responds to consciousness, to intention. That's why it's been growing more unstable. Humanity's fear and desire for control are creating discord in the field. Dr. Porter's instruments began registering massive disturbances throughout the station. Multiple quantum events forming. The field is reaching critical mass. Through their connection, Nathaniel felt Diana's determination crystallize into certainty. She had spent 30 years holding reality together through sheer force of will. Now she would use that same will to guide humanity through its next evolutionary step. I need your help, she said, turning to Nathaniel. Your research into quantum resonance, your ability to bridge normal and quantum states, it's not coincidence that you found me. You're an anchor point too, just like I was. But you can still exist primarily in normal space. Understanding dawned in Nathaniel's mind. A translator. Someone who can exist in both states and help others understand the transformation. Diana nodded, the patterns of her skin pulsing with increasing urgency. But it has to be voluntary. Forced evolution would destroy everything we're trying to preserve. Commander Reese stepped forward, her military bearing at odds with the awe in her voice. What do you need us to do? Buy us time, Diana said. The ship's approaching from Earth. They need to understand this isn't something they can study or control. It's something they have to choose to become part of. The quantum field surged around them, and for a moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. In that pause between moments, Nathaniel made his choice. He reached out to Diana both physically and through their quantum connection, embracing the transformation that had already begun within him. As their consciousness merged, the quantum field stabilized, finding balance between states of being. Through their combined awareness, they could sense the other anchor points awakening across the solar system, each one a potential bridge between what humanity was and what it could become. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would embrace its quantum evolution or tear reality apart in its resistance to change. And at the heart of it all, in a small research outpost at the edge of known space, two beings who bridged the gap between states of existence prepared to guide their species into an uncertain future. The approach of Earth's ships cast long shadows across outpost Helios's sensors. 12 vessels, representing every major power on Earth, had arrived at the edge of quantum-affected space. Their presence sent ripples through the transformed region around the station, like stones disturbing the surface of a cosmic pond. Inside the quantum lab, Diana and Nathaniel existed in a state of merged consciousness. Their combined awareness extended through the quantum field, touching the awakening anchor points scattered throughout the solar system. Each point pulsed with potential, waiting for the right moment to bridge the gap between ordinary space and quantum reality. Commander Reese's voice cut through their meditation. They're demanding immediate access to the station. The Chinese vessel is threatening to breach our containment field. Diana's form crystallized into visibility, her appearance now a fluid blend of human and quantum states. The patterns beneath her skin had settled into complex geometric forms that shifted in response to the surrounding quantum field. "They need to see," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the air shimmer. "Not just with their instruments, but with their consciousness." Nathaniel moved to the main console, his own form occasionally phasing between states as he worked. The transformation within him was still in its early stages, allowing him to act as a bridge between normal and quantum space. "We can use the station's communication array to broadcast a quantum resonance signal. Let them experience the field directly." "It could overwhelm their minds," Dr. Porter warned, checking readings from his enhanced instruments. "Most humans aren't ready for direct quantum contact." "They don't need to fully enter the quantum state," Diana explained. "Just glimpse it enough to understand. Humanity needs to choose this transformation, not have it forced upon them." Through their shared consciousness, Nathaniel felt Diana's plan taking shape. The quantum field wasn't just a phenomenon to be studied, it was a new layer of reality that responded to intention and awareness. By showing humanity a glimpse of its potential, they could guide the species toward a controlled evolution rather than a catastrophic transformation. Commander Reese studied the approaching ships on her display. "Whatever you're going to do, do it fast. The Russians are powering up their main weapons array." Diana placed her hands on the quantum resonance chamber, her consciousness expanding through the station's systems. Nathaniel joined her, their combined awareness reaching out through space toward the approaching vessels. Through their quantum-enhanced senses, they could feel the fear and anticipation radiating from the ship's crews. "Now," Diana whispered, and they released a carefully modulated pulse of quantum energy. The effect was immediate and profound. Across 12 ships, thousands of minds simultaneously experienced a moment of quantum awareness. They felt the interconnectedness of all things, the fluid nature of reality itself, and the vast potential waiting to be unlocked within human consciousness. Through their quantum link, Nathaniel and Diana guided the experience, showing them glimpses of what humanity could become. Not just masters of quantum technology, but beings who could exist in harmony with the fundamental forces of the universe. The weapons powered down. The threats ceased. In their place, a cascade of communications flooded the station's receivers as minds opened to new possibilities. "They understand," Diana said, monitoring the quantum field's response to the shift in human consciousness. "Not completely, but enough to choose their next steps wisely." Commander Reese received updated orders from Earth Command. "They're establishing a quarantine zone around the quantum-affected space. No unauthorized ships allowed within range of the transformation field." She looked up from her display. "They're calling it the evolution zone." Dr. Porter's instruments showed the quantum field stabilizing as humanity's approach to it shifted from fear to cautious curiosity. "The other anchor points are responding to the change. They're entering a state of controlled awakening rather than critical emergence." Nathaniel felt Diana's relief through their connection. The crisis had been averted, but more importantly, humanity had been given a choice about its future. The transformation would continue, but at a pace that allowed for understanding and adaptation. "What happens now?" Commander Reese asked, watching the ships establish a careful perimeter around the station. Diana's form shifted, becoming more defined as she brought her quantum state into closer alignment with normal space. "Now we teach. Guide. Help humanity understand what it means to exist in multiple states of reality simultaneously." "It won't be easy," Nathaniel added, his own transformation continuing to progress under Diana's guidance. "The quantum field responds to consciousness itself. Learning to exist within it requires more than just scientific understanding, it demands a fundamental shift in how we perceive reality." Through the station's windows, they could see the quantum field shimmering in space, its boundaries now visible to normal human perception. It was beautiful, a dance of possibility and potential that represented humanity's next great adventure. Diana turned to Nathaniel, the patterns of her skin synchronizing with his emerging quantum state. In that moment, they were both fully human and something more, pioneers of a new form of existence that bridged the gap between the mundane and the infinite. 30 years ago, I made a choice to save reality by becoming something new, Diana said, her voice carrying echoes of both her human past and quantum present. Now humanity faces a similar choice, but they don't have to make it alone. Commander Reese received another transmission from Earth. Research teams were being assembled, protocols established for controlled exposure to the quantum field. Humanity was approaching its evolution with characteristic determination and curiosity. In the quantum lab of Outpost Helios, Diana and Nathaniel began preparing for their roles as guides to a species on the brink of transformation. Through their shared consciousness, they could sense the other anchor points awakening across the solar system, each one a potential teacher for humanity's quantum evolution. The universe had offered humanity a choice between fear and transcendence. In choosing to embrace the unknown while maintaining their essential humanity, they had proven themselves ready for the next step in their cosmic journey. As the quantum field pulsed with possibility around them, Diana and Nathaniel stood at the threshold between what humanity was and what it could become, living bridges between stars, consciousness, and states of being yet undreamed.